Hey, everybody. Hope you're doing well. On the show today, I'm going to talk about any possible phobias or fears I think I might have. I'll also talk about my all time favorite band. And then we're going to answer a question from Lila about whether I like good guys or bad guys. So it should be a fun one. Today's show is brought to you by Musicares. This is a charity through the Recording Academy that helps out struggling musicians in this time of need, this crisis, this COVID virus. So yeah, pop on over to Musicares there through the Grammys and see if there's anything you can do to help out. Right. Let's start the show. So our first question today comes from Lila, my niece. Let's see what she has to say.
You like good guys or bad guys?
Do you like good guys or bad guys better?
Okay, well, that's a tough question. Do I like good guys or bad guys? I'm going to have to go with good guys, Lila. Or good guys, or even sometimes bad guys who are actually good at heart. I can give you a couple of examples here. When I was a kid, one of my favorite good guys was a guy named Indiana Jones. So this is a very altruistic fellow. You know, all he cared about was retaking old archaeological artifacts and getting them into museums where he believed they belonged, as opposed to in the hands of bad guys who would sell them for money and their own personal gain. So yeah, I was a big follower of Indiana Jones. I think he demonstrates what it is to be a really good guy. And another good guy that I always liked was Han Solo from Star Wars. He was a great guy, but a little bit conflicted. You know, it appeared at times that he was out for his own personal gain. He was out for money. But in the end, he came around. He was a real good guy. He helped out the rebels against the evil empire. So really a cool guy, always one of my favorite characters. Someone similar to him is a gentleman named Yojimbo in the movie Yojimbo, a samurai movie from way back in the day. He had the same kind of conflict there. You know, he was out for personal gain. He would sell his services to the highest bidder, but at the end of the day, he came around and did the right thing. Another great example of this is my favorite cartoon, Tom and Jerry. You know, initially I really liked Jerry more because I thought he was the good guy. But as the cartoon progressed, you learned that, you know, Tom the cat really wasn't that bad of a guy. Jerry was always poking at him, agitating him. So I started to feel like maybe Tom was the good guy. But eventually, after watching all of the Tom and Jerry cartoons, I realized they were both good guys. I liked that dynamic, you know, two good-natured people going tit for tat. It just makes for a really good time, and we can learn from all the characters, the good, the bad, the ugly. So yeah, Lila, thank you so much for the question, but I'm definitely all about the good guys. And our next question comes from my cousin Amy. Once again, great question. She wanted to know if I had any phobias, and if I did, do I think that phobia is useful? Well, I'm honestly not sure if I have something that you could call a phobia. But in recent years, I've noticed that at times I do feel like I have a fear of heights. I used to rock climb and get up on walls and dangle from rock cliffs every once in a while when I was younger. I never really felt like I had a fear of heights then, but of course I was attached to a rope, so I felt safe. But in the last few years particularly, I've noticed on a couple of occasions getting this feeling inside that I couldn't really control. Specifically when I was at Bandelier National Monument and I was climbing up these ladders that go up to this alcove or this big old cave dwelling. I got kind of halfway up here and just seized up for a minute. Got this feeling in my gut that I was starting to lose it. I kept going and got to the top and kind of took some deep breaths and assessed it. But then again, going back down, I kind of realized, wow, this is making me feel really squeamish. Not a feeling I'd really felt before. A couple summers before that, I'd been to Canyonlands National Park And sitting there on the edge of those cliffs, I didn't really have too big of a problem. I did notice that I was being a little more safe than some other people there, standing a few feet back from the cliffs, as opposed to just sitting there with your feet dangling over the edge. That was just a little too much for me. And again, a few days ago, I was watching this documentary on YouTube about this new observatory in Manhattan, in Midtown Manhattan on the west side, top of a really tall building, but it's an open air observatory, the highest open air observatory in the Western Hemisphere, actually. So it's called the Edge. Basically, you pay $36 and take the elevator up top there, and you can stand out and just look at the entirety of Manhattan. It looks incredible. But I did notice when I was at the top of the Empire State Building, this would have been a decade or so ago, that I felt relatively safe, but as I got real close to the edge and peered down over it, I got that same kind of weird squeamish feeling. Just watching this YouTube video about this new edge observation deck gave me that same feeling again. As the guy in the documentary was leaning against this glass and peering down, peering eastward towards the Empire State Building itself, I got this feeling. Like, it's so weird. I've never had that happen to me before just watching a video. So yeah, Amy, I think I'm at a point now where I can say that in certain situations, I have a fear of heights. And I do think phobias can be beneficial at times. Heights, fear of snakes, fear of spiders in a way, keeps us out of harm's way. Even phobias that we kind of think are silly, like being afraid of crowds or being afraid of being social, perhaps can be beneficial. One would think that in a time like this one, where we're dealing with a pandemic, people with fears of social situations and crowds are living it up. This is their dream scenario. They also might be saying, look, I told you so. You got to stay away from people, got to stay away from crowds, got to stay away from strangers. Why go to parties? This stuff could potentially kill us, right? I mean, I'm joking there, obviously, but yeah, I think phobias can definitely be beneficial. I just think you do need to be aware of them and keep them under control. Thanks a lot for the question, Amy. And our last question today is from my sister Megan. She wants to know who is my all-time favorite band or musical act. So I did ponder this for a while last night, and I think the only answer that I can give you would be Radiohead. This is a band that I've really loved since I was a teenager, starting with the album The Bends. And every subsequent album I've bought and really enjoyed. They tend to switch their sound up from album to album. They tend to get a little weird. They tend to alienate their fans. This is a band that is loved but also hated, which I can understand. Tom York, the lead singer's vocals can be a bit annoying at times. They can sound like whining, but that's not something I've ever had a problem with. Generally with bands, I like vocalists that are a little off, a little weird, perhaps a little annoying. So I kind of like that about them. I also just love their live show. This is what's really made them my favorite band. I've seen them 3 times, once in Washington State, once in Massachusetts, and then again once at Austin City Limits in Texas. And each time I've just been blown away. And for me, they're also one of those bands where I just love their newest stuff the most. I'm not saying that means their last album is my favorite album, although Moonshaped Pool is a very good album. It's just when that album comes out, that's all you want to listen to. When you go see them live, all you want to hear is that new stuff. And that for me is a telltale sign of a great band. So on the front end of this band is Tom York, obviously the lead singer. He's also a guitarist, multi-instrumentalist. He kind of seems like he's the captain of this ship. You've also got another guitarist here, Ed O'Brien, who's really great. He provides most of the backup vocals. I think he's branching out and doing something solo now. But he's a really cool musician. And then, of course, Johnny Greenwood. He plays piano and many other instruments and composes a lot of their work. He's an amazing character as well. He actually composes scores for films. 2 of my favorite scores of all time actually were for Phantom Thread and There Will Be Blood. So he's really a standout for me. A couple of their big albums. OK Computer was huge. I didn't like it at first, but over time it became one of my favorite Radiohead albums. They kind of pushed the envelope with In Rainbows as they came out and just said, give us whatever money you want. You don't have to give us any money. You can give us $3, $5, $10, whatever you want. Get online, buy this album. Musically, it was another leap forward from their previous effort. And I just really loved the way that they connected with their fans by doing that. All right, so that's going to do it for today. I hope you all are doing well. Stay healthy, stay sane, and we will see you tomorrow.